Welcome back to Moderately Classy. I'm your girl, Cupcake Avara, Jessica. It's been a minute, Lord and ladies. I did go see Infinity Wars. This will not have spoilers in it. But I wanted to take a minute to not only express my thoughts on it, but this is not a review by any stretch of the imagination. I'm only just now putting this up because I wanted a few days to process everything because there was a lot going on in that movie. A lot. And I feel if you don't have the right foundation for going in, you'll be lost. You have to go in with this mindset. It's Thanos' movie, so we are going to be seeing a lot of things from him, his thoughts, his concepts, his process, which I like, because in a movie you could easily kind of dwindle him down to this big bad baddie that, just does things for fun. And that's never been who Thanos is. Even in the comic books, he's a very interesting antagonist. And the best antagonists don't see themselves as evil. They just see themselves as fixing a problem, trying to make things better. He's very complex, and I really enjoy that. I mean, it's still kind of whittled down to a certain degree from the comic books, because the comic books had a lot more time to kind of, develop him and show you more things. And movies still are largely tops 3 hours here right now for most, wide release movies. So please keep that in mind. But with the time they had, they did an excellent job of helping you understand who he is in the MCU and why it matters. Now, keep in mind, we've seen him as this big baddie who's been sitting on a throne yakking at Ronan in Guardians 2. And we saw him once before the end of the first Avengers, I think. So it's not that he hasn't been around. As far as my personal experience when I was watching it, nothing. Gosh, this will make me sound extremely jaded, but nothing truly surprised me in that respect. They made some surprising decisions, but logically they made sense. Their writers would probably be people I would hate playing D&D with, because granted they're having help keeping up with this, but they're remembering their own lore extremely well. And I very much appreciate that. You've had 10 years worth of leading up to this point. 10 years? I think it's been about 10 years. Oh God. Of leading up to this point. This is his chance to shine. Just like there were origin movies to everybody else, his is not an origin movie, but this is his movie. So, and everyone else is kind of playing a part in his production. If you think of it that way, you'll go in with a better understanding of what you're watching. In fact, they don't really introduce very many new characters at all, because they really don't have to. There's so many characters that we've already known and been introduced to, so long as you've kept up with the MCU, that there does not need to be anybody else. In fact, the few people that are kind of inconsequential. So I would say that they're only, aside from all the origin movies and all the previous Avengers movies, I would definitely suggest, for context, Spider-Man Homecoming, as well as Thor Ragnarok. That you would need to watch both of those for a better context and to get the most out of Infinity Wars. I could see why they changed the name of this. It's not really, they call it not a second part, it's like a different movie, but it's still Infinity Wars 2. Yeah, those two movies are fantastic for helping you understand why things are happening to a certain degree, and where we are up until this point, where the characters are emotionally and mentally up until this point. That's extremely important with this movie. I know some people are not going to like the movie from an emotional perspective, but I think it's necessary. And from a writing perspective, as far as the stories go, I think it's extremely necessary for the future of the MCU. All in all, I am extremely impressed and very happy with the movie. Now, from this point on, I could see where it would be it was already a tedious balance getting to this point. From this movie on, I'm curious to see how they're going to proceed and maintain that balance, because they did it very well in this movie, because with so many characters, it could have easily gotten out of hand, but it didn't. So I'm curious as to how they're going to maintain this balance now that they're going back to single movies, so to speak, at least until the next installment of this. So far, they've pretty much earned my trust. There are very few and far between weak links in the movies leading up to this point. There's some that I don't like nearly as much, but they're still better than, you know who I'm talking about, which is sad because their animation is amazing. But that's another story. Anyway, this is gonna be short, sweet, to the point. Just my thoughts on Avengers Infinity War and the MCU state. Yeah, it's good. I actually recorded this before, but I was in the car. I didn't like the footage. I used my cell phone. It didn't look bad, but I didn't like the footage. So I decided to re-record. I'm working on trying to come up with a couple of series for you guys, which is why I'm taking, like, there's a huge gap, because I'm doing a lot of like research. I'm thinking about what the series is going to be. I like to present, when I do these things, I like to present them with as much information as possible. So please bear that in mind. I'm open to correction, insight, whatever, as long as it's presented correctly. No problems whatsoever. So hopefully within the next few days, maybe next week, there will be the beginning of a series. And it's not a long series to start with, just a shorty one. I might have another video prior to that. I'm thinking about doing an anime. Haven't decided, because I have so many animes that I watch, so many animes that I think need to have a spotlight shined on them for one reason or another. But this was Cupcake Guevara, and I'll see you lords and ladies later.